Hey, we're on. Hello, and welcome to AU Wishbone TV and the AU Wishbone podcast. This is our first ever episode of the TV version, the video version, so expect lots of bumpy road tonight as we're still kind of getting our feet under us on this, but this is going to be it. This is going to be both the podcast and the TV, both together for the foreseeable future. So let me go ahead and I'm going to just go play the first few minutes so you'll know this is what it is.
I'm Weather Channel meteorologist Reynolds Wolf, and you are listening to almost credible discussion of the Auburn Tigers with the AU Wishbone.
A miracle in Jordan Hare! A miracle in Jordan Hare!
War Eagle.
Okay, I forgot our new White Rocket theme.
White Rocket Entertainment.
Love it. All right, John, we are live. How are you doing?
It's very exciting, Van. I'm excited to be here, and this is the maiden voyage of the Wishbone podcast as we're trying to do the video on Google Hangout in addition to doing the regular audio podcast. And so sometimes when we're in there have been days when the 2012 season would be like 11:30 at night local time, and we'd be talking about some game where Auburn got killed, and I'd be over here like, and so I can't do that anymore. We're on video. I have to look like I'm paying attention and completely focused. So.
That is correct. That is correct. We have let's see. I'm gonna give a quick tour of our sets. This is our very first episode, and I've spent a lot of time putting everything together during the break. So you see behind me over here, sort of from left to right as I'm looking. Here's LT, which is one of our many stuffed tigers with Auburn. I actually made that Auburn jersey myself. I'm quite crafty. I have a neon Auburn football helmet. It's kind of washed out here. You can't really see the neon, but it's all lit up. We have my actual 1998 vintage Jordan Hare Stadium model, which I like. I got to add like the big board, the big Mothratron on there. We have the Sports Illustrated National Championship issue. And on the other side, we have the Cam Newton cover of the BCS game from January of 2011. They also had a cover with Nick Fairley. I'm like, no, I want the Cam cover. I have Iron Man wearing an Auburn helmet. I have my little Auburn helmet that's been in my office for a long time. And lastly, I have our two Auburn books, Decades of Dominance and Season of Our Dreams. So there's the background for me. You have something you stuck there on the back, right?
I have I autographed Trey Mason 2013, him hurtling over somebody picture behind me, and I'll do some more with the background later, but this is what we got for now. And
I love the shirt tonight.
This is we had attempted at one point to order these shirts, and I think they shut us down for alleged copyright violations or something, but I wanted to wear the In Gus We Trust shirt because of Van's continual ranting against Auburn fans who don't believe in him, whatever. I just thought a little protest shirt, supporting Van shirt today.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. All right. Well, let's get right on into it. I've got a lot going on my monitor, and Auburn's got a lot going on there's a lot going on in the Auburn world these days. So let me see. I didn't do the little intro, did I? This is AU Wishbone and AU Wishbone TV, brought to you by White Rocket Entertainment, as always, in association with the WarEagleReader.com and the War Eagle Sports Radio Network. And I am, of course, Van Allen Plexico. I didn't introduce myself. It's just crazy here on our first night on TV. And I am joined, as always, by my co-host.
I'm John Ringer.
You are John Ringer, yes. And John, we have made, hold on, I'm just not organized. We have made the move to video. I can't even see myself. I got the monitor. Yes, there it is. The move to video. Hashtag move to video. So we are indeed the AU Wishbone. You can listen to our podcast version of this show on iTunes, of course, and at the WarEagleReader.com, and of course the War Eagle Sports Radio Network, and now we have a channel on YouTube. If you're watching this, you already probably know But if you're listening and you want to see the video portion of it, go to YouTube and just search AU Wishbone. We have a channel. You can subscribe. It will bring in every episode. It lines them up in the little video tab. We have an introductory video on the first page. It's awesome. So AU Wishbone TV. There you go. And it's all brought to you, as always, by whiterocketbooks.com. That is our homepage. That's where you can get our books, as well as bookstores and Amazon or whatever. But you can see everything in one place. You go to whiterocketbooks.com. You can see our books there. And you can see, of course, this show and so much more. All right. And I want to also point out, since I've got the cards flying around out here, that there's 2 ways to contact us. Go at AU Wishbone on Twitter. You can also follow me at Van Allen Plexico and at JK Ringer. And there is our Gmail address, auwishbone@gmail.com. All right. Preliminary stuff.
Very impressive use of recycled cardboard.
It is. Well, what I discovered was that cardboard works much better because white paper just makes a glare on the video. But the good old recycled cardboard works excellent and is free. Okay, so let's get down to business. That's what people are tuning in to find out. As you quite properly noted, we do want to know what people think about this. Just let us know what you thought about our first video show if you watched it, or if you feel like the video show is detracting in some way from the audio. We'll try to tweak that. This is, again, our very first attempt, so we're going to, it's going to be a little rocky. So just let us know what you think about it and what could be better and what you liked and all that. Now, John, all kinds of Auburn news going on. What have you got first on the Auburn news feed?
Well, the biggest Auburn news, of course, is the basketball team's huge win over 13th ranked Kentucky yesterday in Auburn. Students stormed the court, and we hadn't beaten them since 2000, and we hadn't beaten them very often. Even before that, I was go back to the John Kaler game in 1987 or whatever that was, but it was 88. But it was a huge win because the basketball team has really struggled with injuries to the guards, and on top of the injuries, had not been playing well the last couple of games. Had not played, even with the injuries, they hadn't played up to their potential a little bit. And on Saturday against Kentucky, they played amazing. It was a really, really exciting game. They were not intimidated at all, despite, all the talent. Kentucky always rolls out on the floor. And, there were a lot of times when you think, wow, that is way too quick a shot, especially a long three-pointer. But they made them. And it takes the kind of confidence, the guys like Canty have to beat a team like Kentucky. You have to believe. And he has no fear.
No. Canty is – put it up.
So, and that's exciting to see, and it was a huge win for Auburn basketball, especially at home. It gets back moved in a positive direction. And now we're 2-3 in the conference.
And there were a whole bunch of football recruits there too, I believe.
Absolutely, huge
Doesn't hurt
recruiting weekend.
Does not hurt a bit to have them there.
Nope.
Yeah. So the basketball was fantastic. It's funny too because this comes at a time when the basketball team was kind of struggling a good bit. I mean, but it's just mainly all the injuries. I mean, there's 2 really good players that haven't even gotten to play yet because of, grade or clearinghouse type issues, which we're used to having to deal with. But then there's, we don't even have a point guard right now because both of our main point guards have been out for weeks now.
Yeah.
Canty got hurt at the end of this game. I mean, we're running out of bodies. You have any eligibility left?
You don't want me playing point guard. I can tell you that.
we may need more than a point guard the way it's going. Okay. Also today, the Panthers won. I'm not an NFL fan by any means, but I am cheering for Cam, of course. So by extension, the Panthers, even though I don't care about the Panthers, but I want Cam to win the Super Bowl and MVP and all that. That'd be awesome. And I just like to think of the agony that all of his detractors go through every time he achieves something. It makes me happy in my heart.
It's a good thing. I mean, I grew up in Atlanta, and I'm a Falcons fan. I cheer for the Falcons, but I'm happy for Cam, and I'm happy for Carolina. I'd much rather them go than Seattle. Good golly.
Sure, yeah. So that was a big. It's funny because I saw. I think it was Stuart Mandel was tweeting. Remember the Alamo Bowl because it was 31-0 at halftime, and sure enough, here came the Seahawks in the second half, but it turned out that pick six that the Panthers had at the very beginning of the game was the difference. So we really enjoyed that game today. Watched every bit of it. Another big bit of news, I don't know if you noticed, is that it looks like, I don't know if this is 100% sure, but it looks like Montravius Adams is coming back.
It's been reported like it's a done deal, so I feel pretty good in that. It's huge news for Auburn today. I mean, with Lawson already coming back and now Adams coming back, I was concerned we might lose one or both of them. And now with both of them coming back, I think the defense is going to be a much better position going into next year. We'll have a lot of quality depth behind them, with the guys we have returning, with the new guys coming in. And I just think you saw this year the difference Lawson makes by himself. And you know that Adams has the potential to be that kind of player if he can just consistently be that in every play. So it's really, really big for Auburn.
Yeah, if you put it in the context of, well, never underestimate how much of a difference the defensive line makes, right? I mean, the defensive depth, quality depth on the defensive line, I would argue, is right up there with a decent quarterback in things that determine how good your season is, yes, from A to Z. And if you put this along the lines of recruiting, then having both Lawson and Adams come back is like getting commitments from 2 5-star plus, freshmen that can contribute immediately because they're seniors. So I mean, this is huge. This is like, I said, well, this is like getting Ronnie Brown and Cadillac to come back.
Is. I mean, I really thought they might go, but they decided to come back. And I think, if Lawson stays healthy, he could absolutely be an All-American type player next year.
Yeah. Fantastic. So that's going to go a long way toward, because I did see that our schedule was listed by at least one service as possibly one of the hardest in the country next year. It's nice that we open with, I think 5 home games in a row, but at least 3 of those are, Clemson, LSU, and Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. And then we end the season on the road at Georgia and Alabama. So that is not an easy schedule. So any little extra help or advantage we can get is going to be huge. We have a national championship to report.
Right? Albee again won the mascot national champion.
Yes. All he does is win, no matter what. That's all. He is 9 times national champion. 9 times. That's amazing. And those 9 are in just the last few years. They've even been doing this. He's amazing. So I'm always excited. There's not many sports at Auburn that I would trade that I would trade an Albee national championship for. In other words, I'm more excited when Albee wins than I am almost anything other than maybe basketball or football.
I disagree about that. But
okay, but I just love Albee. We all love Albee. On the other side of the ball, though, we're losing 2 offensive linemen, are we not?
Right. I mean, we kept Adams and Lawson, but we've lost both offensive tackles. Sean Coleman and Avery Young are both going pro. And it's not a big shock. I mean, Young thought about going last year, and then he went this year. And Coleman is the oldest guy on the team by a lot because of his health issues. I think he's 25 or 26. He already has completed his master's degree. So I completely understand it, and I think they're both going to get drafted. I think they're both going to be, solid NFL offensive linemen. So, and it does leave a big opening. I mean, in the SEC, you're going to face a lot of good defensive ends. I mean, especially early in the season, when you play teams like Clemson and LSU, you're going to play good defensive ends. So, it's a lot of pressure. We got Robert Leff, who played a lot this year as kind of the extra offensive lineman tackle, big tight end guy. And we got the transfer from Texas, Davis. And we got some other guys, Mike Horton and those kind of guys who redshirted, who will be candidates. So that'd be interesting to see in spring practice. That'll be a big focus, who comes out of there and plays those positions.
Yeah, I because I've got so many things crammed on my screen here, I neglected that I have a sound effect for when Lawson and Adams are on the field at the same time next season. Mm-hmm. The opposing players are going to be saying something like this.
What are you? Some kind of doomsday machine, boy?
and they'll think they can stop them.
Well, we got a cage strong enough to hold an animal like you here.
But it turns out, see, that Carl and Montravius are actually working for the government. And when the sheriff finds that out,
Secret agent? On whose side?
there you go. As you can see, yeah.
I was going to say, what's one of the underrated parts of that James Bond movie?
Well, as you can see, it's a lot easier for me now to make little sound clips on demand. I used to have to do like a 50-stage process that took hours. You got to say something so it comes up on the screen. Do it again.
This is my my little sign for now.
You had that ready.
I did. I'm gonna pull that out later when you start hitting the buttons on a regular basis.
You had that standing by. And I have nothing to say, but
blame yourself.
That's right.
Okay, here we go again.
All right. Well, let's see what else is going on. Oh my goodness! By the way, we don't have a visit from Coach Snyder tonight. I do want to have him on again soon, but we got to get some sort of visual representation. Maybe one of those big basketball game heads, the big Coach Snyder head about that big can come on here for him. I don't know.
I think you need to put on like a gray wig, and and like a purple hat or something, a windbreaker.
Oh, okay. All right, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. All right, coaching changes. We did we talk about before on our last show? I can't remember. I think we talked about it on our little testing show.
Wait, one more thing before we go to coaching changes.
Yeah,
we have a potential quarterback transfer visiting the Texas Tech quarterback. Traveling around the country and maybe visiting Auburn. I think he's visiting Colorado maybe this week, and then coming to Auburn. He was a starter, and like 2014 or so, I want to say 13 or 14, and then he got injured. Or he got sick and lost a bunch of weight and lost his job. And by the time he got back into shape, Baker Mayfield was playing there, and then Baker Mayfield transferred, and this other guy who played well again the LSU bowl game for Texas Tech took the job. So this guy's transferring. I cannot remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, but he's more of a pocket passer, right? He's not a dual threat guy.
No, he's not a runner. So we're really looking at like a better version of Chris Todd.
Wow, that's exciting.
I mean, he's good. I mean, let me say this. Take that back. Chris Todd, a way better version of Chris Todd. Like Chris Todd if he was an NFL prospect. I mean, this guy's like 6'5", 220. He's not mobile, but he is, he can throw the ball.
He's more of a Ryan Mallett than a Cam Newton. I saw he's also looking at Colorado, right? Did you just say that? Okay. So what do you think? What are our chances? I mean, how many quarterbacks do we need? My goodness.
Yeah, that would be a lot if he came, if nobody left. And he kind of goes against that belief some people have that we have to have a runner guy. I mean, because he's a graduate transfer, I think he's a graduate transfer. So he would be eligible to play immediately, I think.
Yeah, he would, but I guess maybe 1 year.
Right. But so
I can't imagine graduate transfer and that's Sean Coleman, but Sean Coleman was going to be Professor Coleman if he hung around much longer.
Right. He's going to get his PhD. But I think this guy's probably looking for a school he'd come in and play absolutely right away. And at Auburn is definitely going to be a competition this spring, even if it came. So there's no guarantee.
It's funny. It'd be kind of ironic. Sean Coleman getting a PhD in order to play football, because I nearly got a PhD at Auburn watching football. I hung around so many years as a student, getting those student tickets and everything, that I almost got my PhD at Auburn just staying to watch football. I'm not proud of that, but hey, it was the 90s. Did what I had to do. I was young and fancy-free, footloose. We got a new offensive line coach.
We did. JB Grimes was, I think Auburn was planning to ask him to take an off the field job because of all his health issues in the last year. I think they were concerned he couldn't keep up the hours and the time and stuff. I think everybody loves him. I think he was well respected. He did a good job with the offensive line. We didn't have a lot of offensive line issues, but I think it's also a job that requires a lot of travel and a lot of long days, and I think they were worried about that. So they were going to keep him on staff, but ask him to take an off the field role. And he didn't want to do that. He wants to coach offensive linemen, so he's going to Cincinnati, where his son is also on the staff. And Gus immediately turned around and hired Herb Hand away from Penn State, who is a well-known offensive line coach. And Hand coached with Gus at Tulsa, and they did a lot of good things together, and they led the country in offense. And then Hand was at West Virginia when they had their best teams, when Rich Rodriguez had his best teams with they were some of the most explosive, Steve Slayton and those guys, and they had some of the best offenses in the country. So it hasn't been very good at Penn State, their offensive line, but I think a lot of that had to do with recruiting and with the sanctions and stuff. So I think I'm excited about and I think a lot of the deal is offensive line coaches and offensive coordinators have to be on the same page. You have to be in the same wavelength. You can't, and I think that's part of the problem like the A&M had this last year. The offensive coordinator and the offensive line coach didn't get along or going in the same direction. And I think Herb Hand and absolutely Malzahn, they understand each other and they'll go in the same direction. And I think it's probably a good thing, that Auburn's offense needs a little bit of a shakeup.
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, I was kind of surprised just because everybody's always said that he's done a good job, but on the other hand, if this could work out better, if he could be a better, I think the key word is collaborator, right? I think that the idea is that he would be a better collaborator maybe with Gus. And that can only help certainly because, I mean, the play calling and play design maybe for the first time in forever was called into question some, this season.
Well, and the other part is, again, I think in the SEC, you can't do the same thing year after year after year. Teams figure you out, even if the players are different. So I think bringing in somebody in that'll bring in a new infusion of ideas and shake things up, I think it's good. I think it's a good thing to shake up the offensive mix. So,
yeah. Well, and then that's what they're doing. So we'll see how it kind of works out. Let's see other news, changes. Maybe, yeah.
We had the defensive staff hire since we talked last time. We didn't get.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that we talked about it on our video test, but we haven't talked about it on the podcast.
So Auburn hired Travis Williams, who was the famous former Auburn player who's been a graduate assistant for a long time, coached in the bowl game as linebackers coach. And then Wesley McGriff, who is with the Saints most recently, but also was the Ole Miss secondary coach before that. He is secondary coach and co-defensive coordinator, which is kind of interesting, I thought. But, McGriff is well known as an excellent coach and an excellent recruiter. He developed a lot of the guys that you see at Ole Miss and really helped build their defense, from where it was into what it became. And so I'm excited about him. I think he has a lot of potential. I think he's going to do a good job there. And I'm excited about Travis Williams. I think he's earned the shot. And I think, he's studied under a lot of good coaches. And I think he's going to do a good job. I think the linebacker playing the bowl game was excellent. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to hire somebody coming up, right, then who better than him? Right. I mean, you could have gone out and gotten somebody that's 50, 60 years old or something, whatever. But if you're going to hire an up and comer and maybe somebody who can relate to recruits, a little better, another Travaris Robinson.
That's right.
So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty excited about all the coaching hires. And I mean, I'm even as excited about, more excited about Kevin Steele than I thought I would, because as we kind of said in the podcast last time, the circumstances are just different now than they were when LSU hired him a year ago. That just seemed odd, whereas everything kind of fits. That was like a square peg in a round hole. This is like a square peg in a square hole. It just seems like to me. So, Let's see. Any other changes you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, there's rumors there's going to be another, like that Lashley will go or something else, but I don't think that's going to happen. So,
yeah, it's getting kind of, well, the one window left for that to happen would be the classic right after signing day window. You know, where you keep somebody around until the signing class is in, and then as soon as that's done. But I can't really, I mean, not to shortchange Rhett, but I don't see, I just have a hard time imagining any of our players going, Rhett Lashley's leaving? Hell, I'm not coming anymore. I don't mean that as an insult to Rhett, but I could see that maybe with Damian or with Gus or with Muschamp, you know. I'm just having a hard time imagining some recruit saying, well, if Rhett Lashley's not there, man, I'm going to Cincinnati.
I think part of that is he's the quarterback coach. So if somebody said that, it would be one of the quarterbacks. So I mean, you can see the situation where he leaves and John Franklin III is like, hey, what is this? I signed up to work with him.
Again, I don't see John Franklin going, no Rhett Lashley. What? No, I just now Damian Craig maybe, but no, we'll see. We'll see. All right, so you have a theory you want to expound upon?
Well, I want to present an alternative viewpoint, and I think it has some merit. So we've talked about the Kevin Steele hiring, and we talked about our views on it. In this, we talked to multiple podcast episodes about the search, and we named the other people that we were interested in Auburn hiring, and then Auburn ended up hiring Steele right after the bowl game, and so. A lot of this was prompted by me reading Chad Scott's column. He writes for that Gridiron Now, Tony Barnhart's website thing.
Mm-hmm. Almost a friend of the show, a Twitter friend of us.
Sure. And he's an Auburn fan, and so the alternative theory is this. Okay, this is I'm going to say this. This isn't. I don't believe this 100%, but I want to present it as an alternative reality that also fits the facts as things happen. Okay. The other thing I would point you to, in addition to Chad's work, is there was a column by the OA News sports editor Dana Suleiman, I think is her name, about the day Kevin Steele was hired. And in that press conference, no Jay Jacobs, no athletic department staff, Gus Malzahn took no questions. Kevin Steele spoke, or Gus spoke for a minute, gave a prepared statement. Kevin Steele spoke. He answered a few questions. And in one of them, they asked about hiring the additional staff, which ended up being Travis Williams and Wesley McGriff. And Kevin Steele said, Gus is making those decisions. Not I'm making those decisions, or I know who I want to be my guys or whatever, but Gus is doing that. And so it was just a very different moment than some other coaching hires that we have had over the years at Auburn. And again, Gus has been under, there's Gus on the hot seat discussion and stuff, and didn't take a lot of questions after the bowl game, didn't take a lot of questions when Steele was hired. And so then also you turn around in a thing where, let's look at the defensive coordinator search. Auburn went after Florida State guy Kelly, didn't get him. Auburn called the Penn State guy, didn't get him. Auburn called the Wisconsin guy. We don't know that or not. But anyhow, he didn't come, and we didn't get him, or if we called him. Auburn ends up hiring Kevin Steele, okay? And some Auburn people would put Tavares Robinson on there. I would not. I don't think that was ever an option, really. I think he was going with Muschamp from day one. We talked about that. So, Auburn hires Steele. A day later, LSU hires Randa from Wisconsin. And then Tennessee fires the defensive coordinator. A day later, hires Shoup from Penn State. So if you viewed the situation in kind of a glass half empty, the sky is falling, we're in trouble, then I think you could look at those events and say those coordinators wanted to come to the SEC, Shoup and Randa, but didn't want to come to Auburn. And the minute Tennessee and LSU called them, they took those jobs. and Auburn was left hiring a guy that, did a good job at LSU, but that they weren't, they feel like they upgraded, honestly. And that I get that. I think if you base the DC hiring on one criteria, which is who is the best at stopping the other team from scoring points and getting yards, then Aranda and Shoop are way better than, or Kelly or whoever are way better than Steele, and that makes a lot of sense. However, as we talked about, I don't think that was Gus's only criteria. I think there was a lot of other criteria there that Gus wanted, and they were things like, ran a similar system to Muschamp, was somebody that Gus could trust to act independently and run the defense, not just could run the defense, but somebody that Gus could turn that side of the ball over to and say, it's your baby. I'm not going to interfere. I'm not going to second guess you. You call the defense. You come up with the game plans, and you have to be able to live with us running the hurry up offense. If we're going to run the hurry up offense,
which is an open question,
which the evidence is not pointing to. So that, and then additionally, somebody that had to be somebody who's a great recruiter. Losing Muschamp, losing Ferris Robinson, and losing the linebackers coach who coached in the bowl game as the defensive coordinator, Lance Thompson. All those guys are excellent recruiters, and we need to replace some of that recruiting firepower with somebody else. And I don't know if Shoop or Aranda are recruiters, and they certainly haven't recruited the South. So that was a big part of it. And I think the other thing is, Auburn needed – we talked about the lack of continuity on the defensive side of the ball, and Auburn absolutely needed someone who was willing to commit to multiple years at Auburn. And Kevin Steele was willing to do that. Other people may have said, I'll sign a multi-year contract, but that doesn't mean that you're committing for multiple years and, if stuff happens. So I think those were the other factors. But this theory is out there. And I think, the idea that, Gus is perceived to be more in the hot seat, and that's why these guys didn't want to work with him, whatever. I think I don't know if I buy it completely, but I would say it's at least worth talking about. What are your thoughts about all that?
Well, I read his column about that the other day, and it made me mad in the sense that I didn't want to, believe all of that. But also I felt like this is not helping, right? I mean, coming out and saying that this is the situation when you don't know it just makes it more seem like it is, even if it's not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like, we don't know if the house is on fire or not, and he's running around saying the house is on fire, the house is on fire. I mean, it didn't make me to the point of contacting him and objecting or anything, but it got under my skin a little bit because I felt like I just felt like it was taking every little scrap of circumstantial evidence possible and building a sort of a straw man argument out of it, when we didn't need that happening. We don't need conspiracy theories and circumstantial arguments built up to make things look any worse than they might already be. That's my opinion.
And that's fair, but I mean, I think this is his opinion about what these facts might be, and I get it, and I think there's probably a certain percentage of Auburn fans that feel that way, and I think there's probably a certain percentage of SEC fans who aren't Auburn fans who feel that those facts present themselves that way. So I don't think it's his column is moving the needle on the big picture about Gus's job security. Again, the only thing that matters on that is how many games he wins this fall.
I just don't need to hear people saying that kind of stuff. I just feel like it's counterproductive. I just feel like it gets out into the network, right? It gets out into the world, and people start repeating it. We got enough Feinbaum crap already without more just imagined, conceived, made up stuff that that we don't know that's the case. I mean, just because we didn't hire Coach A or Coach B doesn't mean Coach A and Coach B think that Gus is going to get fired in 6 months or something. That one does not automatically mean the next, you know.
That's a true statement.
So, well, as a semi-rebuttal to that, I will offer this week's
Factoid of the Week.
Factoid of the week.
John, did you hear about the Auburn head coach whose team was predicted to do big things this season, but because of issues with several key players, they suffered more losses than expected? Yeah, but because of his winning track record and his recruiting prowess, everybody cut him lots of slack, and nobody talked about him being on the hot seat. You know who that is?
I know who it is, but keep going.
Who is that? No, that's it. Who is it?
It's Bruce Pearl.
It is Bruce Pearl. So the answer there is, if you are Gus Malzahn and issues with key players cause the team to underperform, fire him! But if you're Bruce Pearl and the exact same thing happens, that's Bruce Pearl. Oh, we don't say anything bad about Coach Pearl. Now, I admit that this would have worked a lot better if we hadn't beaten Kentucky. kind of undermine my
argument looked a lot better before. I think the difference is here's Auburn basketball expectations down here. Auburn football expectations up here.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, it's true. Pearl didn't run around the whole offseason saying, yeah, we're going to be a Final Four team.
No. And again, I'm delighted we're just beating SEC teams. So.
Oh, and beating that SEC team. Oh, that was sweet. That was sweet. Let's see. We've got to get into – I don't have a music for this, but we got trivia questions for you, John.
Well, I did hear some feedback about my performance last week, so I'll try and do better this time. So,
what did you hear? I didn't hear what you heard.
I heard that other members of my family knew all the answers. So,
I bet you did. Well, I want to say, by the way, we do have viewers. We've had various viewers popping in and out. I have a little thing down here that tells me that. So we actually are live, and we are able to be watched live. So if you're wanting to watch
live. I thought
apparently
this was recorded and then going out later.
Well, what's the difference? It's still. I haven't got editing technology for video. It's going out warts and all. I mean, I'm gonna edit the audio down, but the video goes. So hey out there in video land. Ooh. All right. So here comes part 2 of 2. This is our 2016 New Year's insanely difficult Auburn football trivia. So let's see how John does with questions 6 through 10. All right, you ready?
Sure, bring it.
Here we go, number 6. Former Auburn secondary coach Travaris Robinson, T-Rob, was a key player at this position for Auburn in 1999.
Well, he played cornerback and safety, I think.
So what do you think?
He played cornerback and safety. I have to pick one.
I didn't say it was either one of those.
He actually played wide receiver too.
Oh, did he?
So I'm going to say wide receiver.
Did he know? Yes, wide receiver. You got one. Woohoo! Hold on. I can't find anything on this new board.
Please refer to the sign. Us holding up signs is bad for the podcast audio. But
here it is. There you go. Congratulations. All right. Number 7. Auburn brought in perhaps its single best wide receiver signing class. Although, hey, let me just say, this year's wide receiver class could challenge the one I'm about to talk about. Right?
Easy.
Nate,
easy.
Hey, if we get Nate Craig Myers, and we've already got a couple, Stove, Eli Stove, Kyle Davis, if we get Myers and that other guy, that's 4 big-time receivers. We brought in perhaps our single best wide receiver signing class ever, prior to the 2002 season. Name 2 of the receivers who actually played a good bit as freshmen that season.
Ben Obamanu.
Yes. Deuce.
Aromashudu. I don't think he played.
Yes, Ace. Ace and Deuce, Devin Aromashudu and Ben Obamanu. Do you remember who the third one was? There were 3 that actually played that year and one that redshirted.
Anthony Mix.
Anthony Mix. Look at John. He is on fire.
And the red shirt was Courtney Taylor.
Oh, for a muse of fire.
Holy cow! Oh my God!
If you get another one, I'm going to play.
A miracle in Jordan Hare!
Easy.
A miracle in Jordan Hare!
All right, you're on fire tonight, man. That's awesome. You haven't missed a thing yet. That was the bonus. The bonus question was who was the receiver in that class that redshirted and didn't play in 2002? And of course, it was Courtney Taylor. Fantastic. All right, this one's a little harder, and this you shouldn't really. What have you got?
It's Wolverine. Keep going.
Number 8. Auburn's longest winning streak in the modern era is 20 games by Terry Bowden from 1993 to 94. What was the second longest and who coached it?
Oh, good gosh.
We're only going back to like 81, so that's the modern era, the way that we have defined it in our books and columns and stuff. So the second longest winning streak after Terry Bowden's 93-94.
I mean, was it 2013? 13 games?
We never won more than 6 or 7 games in a row that year because of LSU and then,
you're right. Yes.
and then Florida State.
Didn't we have a year where we lost the first game and the second game, and then we won all the others and the bowl game? I'm sure somebody else knows the answer to this, and they're yelling at me at this point.
Let me put it like I'll help you get it. We had a season where we didn't lose any, and we actually ended the previous season pretty well. And you add all those together, but yes, we lost the first game the next season, so it ended with that little.
Right. So end of 2003, all 2004.
That is it. Yeah, that was 15. We had the Iron Bowl and the bowl game from 03. And then all 13 from 2004. And then, of course, that ended. That streak could have kept going, but it ended thanks to stupid Georgia Tech. All right. Bonus. Well, that was my bonus, was what 2 losses bookended that streak. Who, I guess.
Georgia would have been the other one on the front.
Georgia and Georgia Tech, yeah.
Georgia in 2003.
Right. I was at that game. I'm going to have to say this, John. The 2003 Georgia game is the only Auburn game I've ever left at halftime. It was in Athens. It was horrible. I was in the Georgia student section. It was awful. What seasons did Pat Dye have his longest non-losing streak, which was 13 games? Pat Dye's longest non-losing streak was 13 games. What years? Just take a guess real quick.
Was it 88, 89?
You're awfully close. See, I figured you'd go earlier, but actually it was 89, 90. Because we lost early in 89 to Tennessee and Florida State, and then we ran off the rest of 89 and the early 90. So there was a 13-game streak at the end of 89 and beginning of 90. That is not what I would have guessed, those 2 seasons. But it was. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. From 1999 through 2007, in even-numbered years only, did Tuberville lose more or fewer than 11 games total? In even-numbered years, in all the even-numbered years from 1999, which would be from 2000 2006, did he lose more or less than 11 games? Less, yes. 2000, 2002, 2004, 2006, all put together, Tuberville lost 10 games. That's pretty amazing, isn't it?
That's impressive.
All right, number 9, rolling right along here. How many football games did Auburn play during the calendar year of 1984? This is going. My follow-up bonus is going to blow your mind.
Well, so
how many
we played.
Yeah, go ahead.
We played in the Sugar Bowl after '83, which was a New Year's Day of 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Kickoff Classic, which didn't count. Back then it was an extra game. And then we played an 11-game schedule and
So
a bowl game.
14. Yes, 14 is the answer. We played the Liberty Bowl against Arkansas. That was weird. That was also, I guess, the last time we played a bowl game against a team that's now in the SEC. So, yeah, 14 games in the calendar year of 84. That was very good. Now, here's the one that's going to blow your mind. Of all those 14 games you just mentioned, how many were played in Jordan-Hare? I guarantee you, whatever answer you pick, it will be too many. I would have never guessed this. Out of 14.
Well, I mean, again, it's neither of the bowl games, not the Kickoff Classic.
Mm-hmm.
So those 3 are out. So the max is 11, and we had to play 4 SEC games on the road. So then the max is 7. So I'm going to say 5.
It is 5. Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 ho.
Holy cow! Oh my God! A miracle in Jordan Hare! A miracle in Jordan Hare!
That's amazing. You're on fire. 5. Yeah, so think about that. Out of 14 games during that stretch, only played 5 at home, 9 on the road. In the 80s. It's crazy. All right.
It's insane scheduling.
It is. Here is your final question because we got to move on. In this century, so that does not count 2000, starting with 2001. In this century, how many times total has Auburn lost to Florida, Tennessee, and South Carolina combined?
Well, we haven't lost to South Carolina.
Oh, where'd the button go? There we go.
All right, we haven't lost to South Carolina in this century.
That's a 0. Florida, Tennessee.
We haven't lost to Tennessee in this century.
That's a 0.
So 1 did Tennessee.
1.
Florida beat us once.
What year and who was the coach?
Urban Meyer? Or no?
Urban Meyer? Urban Meyer, you ever beat us, boy?
Pre-Urban Meyer.
Yes. Who was pre-Urban Meyer?
Well, Spurrier.
What are you? Some kind of doomsday machine, boy!
We haven't lost to Urban Meyer ever. Ever. Okay, so who was it then? What year?
Spurrier. After Spurrier.
Please. Who was in between there? The cup of coffee.
I'm completely blanking out.
The Zucker.
Oh, Ron Zook.
The only loss that Auburn has suffered to Florida, Tennessee, or South Carolina in this millennium was to Ron Zook in 2002. In the game where Cadillac broke his leg or whatever, and Ronnie Brown nearly brought us back. And we missed a field goal, I guess, or something.
I was going to say, I remember we came back in that game behind Ronnie Brown, and then we tried to kick a field goal to win.
That was it.
Terrible.
All right, let's move things along here. We're at...
It's time for listener questions. Dun, 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 on the AU Wishbone podcast.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
First question. This is from Auburn Elvis. He says, where does Auburn's athletic department rank nationally in the SEC? What are your criteria for this, and how do you balance other sports with the importance of football?
You know, I mean, we complain, but I'm sure everybody does about their athletic department. But what would you really? I mean, you can hate on Jay Jacobs if you want to, but honestly, I mean, what would you? We spend money. There's a commitment, right?
Maybe too much. Sometimes.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
I only wish we had more to spend.
Yeah, we spent $100,000 in that court storming on Saturday. So,
how much?
$100,000 is how much that court storming is costing us.
Are you kidding?
No, it's a rule.
Oh man, they should have deducted money out of the student accounts of every student that went out there then and said, well, you bought it, you broke it, you bought it, you know? Man.
Well, back to the question, like, I don't have any idea how well some of the other athletic departments operate. I mean, I get the sense that overall, Florida's pretty well run, and, I think Georgia's pretty well run and Alabama's pretty well run, but I don't have a real sense for a lot of other schools. I mean, I have no idea how the rest of the Arkansas athletic department or the Tennessee athletic department is. I mean, I think, what do you judge an athletic director by? In the non-football sports, how the hiring's been, and I think that recently Jacobs has done a good job in that.
Absolutely.
I think the baseball coach, softball, Bruce Pearl, I think those are wins for him. So, I think facilities, Auburn is in excellent shape, and fundraising. The real question, it comes down to things like, fundraising, and then also on the administrative side, managing the resources, managing the money, keeping good people. So that's, you don't hear anybody saying, "Oh, Auburn's a terrible place to be and a terrible place to work" or anything. So,
quite the contrary. Quite the contrary. Here's what Mira does when people talk about spending money. She goes. So
I don't have a good sense about that.
This is the kind of thing I don't want to have. This is the kind of thing I don't want to have an opinion on.
Well, I mean, like there's only so many brain cells I have, and I'm not going to bother to spend time analyzing how well everybody's athletic department's performing.
I hear you. What else we got?
James Jones says Auburn beat Kentucky in football, men's basketball, women's basketball, gymnastics, and soccer in this academic year. Is it safe to say we owned them?
Cheers. Hey, in Louisville too. We are the Bluegrass champions.
We are moving and take possession now.
Heck yeah. That's fine with me. Better beat Kentucky than lose to them.
This question is right up your alley. This is from KC1, who's at Brave Man Fan. He says, why does Auburn seem to struggle when expectations are high? Is it bad luck, or is it something we all really ought to worry about?
That's an excellent question. It's something that we addressed before this season, and I just want to point out, I went on the record very strongly before the 2015 football season saying that's all a myth, that there were very specific, very definite things that happened every time that caused those famous, up and then downs, and it's a myth, and this year would prove it all wrong. Well, I was completely wrong. We are cursed. We're cursed.
So hope for low expectations? Is that
we have to hope for low expectations and hang on, baby, because that's who we are. We have to own who we are, and who we are is a program that is apparently built on top of an ancient Indian burial ground. And so that's it. We are going to be great in years nobody thinks we are, and we're going to be terrible in years we're supposed to be great. And that's just who we've always been.
Good to know.
There you go.
Our last question comes from Emily Rios, who says, what are your thoughts on the offensive line coaching hire? And does Gus have a problem developing non-JUCO quarterbacks? Cam, Nick, Chris, Cam and Nick, for example, versus JJ and Kyle Frazier. She says, I hope the answer is no. But what do you think?
Well, I guess the question is, our quarterbacks seem to do better when they come in already having been coached somewhere else. That's not a good thought.
No. And we don't, we had the whole thing. We don't allow the private coaching services to work with them, which is kind of.
Yeah. Well, but
it's easy to do that when you're turning out Cam, not so much when you're turning out Jeremy Johnson.
Or the one you just mentioned.
Kyle Frazier.
Yeah, several people on the Auburn sports mailing list have been pointing out we've got Damian Craig on staff. Let him coach the quarterbacks. So. Well,
I mean, if Lashley left, I think that's a logical thing. You bring in somebody else to coach receivers, and Damian coaches quarterbacks.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see. We'll see. I'm just trying to imagine Damian trying to coach Sean White. All right, Sean. Now, if you feel the pass rush coming from the left, use your 4.2 speed to sprint out quickly to the right. And let's rethink that, because not every quarterback is Damian Craig. I mean, man, he was awesome. All right, is that the end of our?
That's the end of questions.
We have a new segment that I haven't told you about yet.
Uh-oh.
That's always a good thing. And I'm going to introduce it now, and we can prepare to have it. Did I not put it on the? Did I not put it on the board? I know I do. Hold on. This is good radio.
It's okay. Look, I can do shadow puppets.
I had a brand new segment, and I can't.
You could do a rabbit.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's I guess I didn't put it on. Well, all right, we'll get it straightened away for next time. All right, well, what that means is that we don't have to do, I did Factoid, we did listener questions. Do we want to take a trip around the SEC?
We can.
Let's talk about it next week. We're short on time.
Okay.
Our new segment is going to be called "Can't Let Go," and we're going to talk about what we can't let go of, what's bothering us, and we just want to talk about. And I had a great theme song for it, and I can't find it, so we'll do that next time. John, what have we learned tonight in our first episode on Wishbone TV?
We've learned that writing on cardboard shows up well on video, and white paper does not.
We have. We've learned that I have about 17 windows open on my monitor, and it's too much. It's too much. So I'm going to have to get another monitor and put it like over here or something, because
we're going to have to hire a professional engineer to come in your house during the recording.
I want to say any quality, any positive quality that this show has exhibited tonight is miraculous, because it's the first time we've done it, and I'm trying to be the engineer and the co-host at the same time, and it's difficult. I need to get Maddie or somebody to come down and have a whole other table set up, and I'll have the soundboard and that kind of thing on one monitor if they can run it, and I'll have the other. Of course, I need 2 mice, so that's getting kind of complicated. All right, let's wrap up for tonight. What we've learned is we got a few more kinks to work out, but I think it was not a bad thing.
Well, and we absolutely need your feedback. Positive, negative, whatever you got about the audio portion of just the podcast and about the video part. What should we do differently? How should we change things? That's very important.
One thing I really want to stress, and I should have stressed at the beginning, in no way do I want this to deter to take away from the podcast. The podcast is where we have 1,000 listeners a week or more, and that's what people have tuned into for going on 4 years now. And so that's going to remain inviolate. We're not messing with the podcast. This is a bonus. This is extra, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we want to hear your feedback. All right, so I guess. See, this is again. I don't have a big enough monitor, so I'll run us on into
Thanks for
our.
listening to the Wishbone Podcast. All past episodes are available at auwishbone.podbean.com and via iTunes. For more Auburn fun, join us on Facebook at facebook.com/AUWishbone and follow the show on Twitter at AU Wishbone. War Eagle.
This has been a White Rocket Entertainment production.
Thank you for listening to the AU Wishbone Podcast.
And with that, the podcast ends, except for the part where I always get to say, War Eagle John.
War Eagle, man.
And of course, go to bed.
Yeah, you get that right.